Hey, Armin here, and in this video, I'm going to talk about why people struggle with their health and also their physique for that matter. I've been exercising and doing things for almost over 40 years. I'm 60 years old. I started doing things when I was young because I played sports in school, and when I got out of school, I didn't know what I was going to do. And to be honest with you, I was a really small kid and didn't weigh very much. And because of that, I got picked on and I didn't like it. And so I wanted to figure out, well, how can I protect myself? And then I saw a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger on a cover of a magazine and thought, well, I could probably protect myself. I put some muscle on. My dad, he was in the Marine Corps, and he was lifting weights a little bit. So I thought, you know what, let me do that. So that's how things changed for me. But then I had to learn all the things that are involved over that 40-year journey on what works, what doesn't, and then also how to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, on the BS, because there's a lot of BS out there, and people are attracted to it for whatever reason, but unfortunately, it creates more problems than it helps. So, one of the things I see that really amazes me at this point is how people rely on the medical community for their health. So let's just talk about that. If you're relying on the medical community, you're going to have a doctor, and then the doctor you go to when you're sick, right? Then you do an annual checkup, these kind of things, and that makes sense. The doctor's a professional, they're trained, but if you look around, it doesn't seem to be working well, and if people are still dying. Heart disease is still killing people left and right. They're issuing statins left and right, but it really doesn't seem to be working, huh? And the funny thing is when you go to a doctor, because I have a doctor I go to as well, just for overall checkup, just to see what their opinion is they maybe do some mild lab work with a metabolic panel and a blood cell count panel, and then look at that, and if it seems to look okay, then you got a good bill of health, but they're not really giving you other guidance with that they could be, and mostly because I don't think they're really educated on what to do, other than once they look at it like, okay, well, there's no need for a prescription here, so why should we do anything else? And plus, there aren't a lot of pressure to get people in and out and then treat them. But it just seems like when you go to the doctor, what they're looking for is the blood pressure up, where's their cholesterol, and then if you have any aches and pains, you can discuss them. Unless there's something acute that you have, then they could, issue a prescription. If you've got a rash or something, they could do something there. But they're not giving people what I would consider a health plan or health strategy to live longer, to not be on medications. They seem to thrive on issuing medications because they think that that's solving the problem, and it's really not. It's just putting a Band-Aid on it, because there's no emphasis on finding out what the root cause of the problem is. Now, obviously, if they do know what the root cause is, and there needs to be an action plan put in place to fix it, maybe it's because they don't feel like there's enough compliance from the person and they don't want to mess with it. I don't know. I just know that I work with a lot of people and their health is not good. And I know what the root causes are, because that's what I search out to do and find out, and I practice what I preach and learn as much as I can to make things better. If you go to the doctor and your blood pressure's up, they're not really having a good discussion. They say, well, you need to eat better. Well, what does that exactly mean? They're going to say, well, you need to eat better, you need to lose some weight, here's a prescription. That's really what you get from the medical community. And again, you can see how that's working, and it's really disappointing, but that's where it's at. So what that means is, do not rely on the medical community for your health. You need to be your own advocate to take care of yourself, because they're not going to do it. And what that means is you need to understand what has to happen to keep your health good. And apparently people don't know what to do, or a lot of them anyways. So that's why I'm talking about this today. Don't rely on the medical community, because it's just going to put a Band-Aid on more and more Band-Aids. It's just not going to work. I mean, people 40 and over are on like 5 or 6 medications. Really? Is that necessary to be on 5 or 6 different medications and people still think they're healthy? No, it doesn't work that way. As soon as you start having to get a medication, that's a red flag. Okay, we got something going on that needs to get addressed and figure it out and work at it. So I just want to emphasize that point. Now, another thing that people don't realize is, and don't take this the wrong way, but most people are incompetent with their health and how to take care of their health and how to take care of their physique. They don't know. I mean, I've been at this 40 years and there's a lot to know. So you're not competent on what to do. So you need to understand that. And you need to understand, okay, well, if I want to get from here to there, what do I need to know? And that can be a lot, especially when you're starting from scratch, or you're just going to start trying things and you have no idea. And so the problem is you just start trying things with no idea, not a good plan. You end up getting disappointed and then you quit, which understandably so, because you feel like you're wasting your time. I get that, but you're not moving forward, and so you get frustrated, then you give up. That's not going to do anything for you. You're not solving the problem. So you need to understand, you don't know what you don't know, and seek the right kind of help and do some homework on who you're going to work with. Find out what they know and look at their background, and do they practice what they preach? Do they walk the walk, talk the talk? That kind of stuff. I just, for example, I can't believe how many people work with a personal trainer that's not even in shape, or work with a nutritionist or dietitian. It's overweight. I mean, look at the amount of nurses and other medical professionals that are overweight. Really. I mean, that is not good. So you just got to keep that stuff in mind. You don't know what you don't know. So understand that, and then you can start moving forward with a strategy, in my opinion. Okay. Now, the other thing that I see a lot of is people think all they need to do is hire a trainer or a nutritionist or dietitian or whatever, and that one little thing is going to solve all the other components. And it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Okay, they're going to give you one area that you can focus on, but it's not going to solve all the areas. You need to have a fully integrated strategy on how you're going to get it done and implement it the right way. So, for example, if you're going to work with somebody, you got to know what your baseline is. Now, some trainers, and it's not saying these aren't going to be helpful. I'm just saying that they're not going to solve your problem. Okay, they'll solve maybe one area if you get the right person, but they're not going to do that. So, what you got to do on a baseline, from my experience, and I found this to be very informative, is you need to get extensive lab work done. Extensive lab work is not what you go to the doctor for and they give you the metabolic panel and the cell blood count. That's not comprehensive blood work, okay? You need something that's going to include that and all your hormones. You need to integrate, a full picture of what's going on, because your hormones are the messengers that tell your body how to operate, and if they're not working well, you think everything else is going to be working well? No. So, but then when you get the comprehensive lab work done, you need to get that interpreted to determine what's going to be my action plan to correct all the things that aren't in optimal range, that aren't where they need to be. And again, if you ask a doctor on hormones and stuff, they're not going to know. And even when you ask them on the other things, they're not going to know. So that's where it's unfortunate. But you need to get a professional that understands all that to help put all these pieces of the puzzle together and integrate it into a lifestyle plan and make it easier for you to be able to do it. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Because if you don't have a good, succinct plan and make it easy, it's not going to work. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to start doubting yourself. And then you're going to get discouraged and you're going to give up. And then another thing that I also see a lot of is they're always asking what somebody else is doing. Asking a friend or a buddy at the gym or a neighbor or whatever, hey, what are you doing for it? They're thinking that's going to be good advice. It might be for what they're doing for themselves, but most of the time it's not going to apply, in a lot of cases. So you need to understand all these things if you really want to be successful with maintaining a healthy body with good energy, good vitality, a lot of stamina, and just like when you're younger, you want to get all that back. You need to understand how to eat, how to use supplementation, how to exercise properly, how to optimize your hormones, and then how to get good quality sleep. You need all these things to work together, and now you got something that's working. That's much more effective. But just doing one thing here, one thing there, thinking you're doing the other things right is faulty thinking. It doesn't work. And if it did work, I wouldn't be here talking about it, and we wouldn't have society looking the way it did work, the way they are. I mean, it's just unfortunate. So don't think that all you need is some kind of one little plan here and one little plan there and over there, and that it's going to start coming all together. That's just not going to happen. Now, it could happen, but the chances are really, really slim. So why would you want to do that? All right, so another thing that I see a lot of people that I run across a lot of is they're all relying on the internet and social media, because if somebody looks good and they're showing what they're doing, they think, well, that should work, and probably does, especially for them. But that depends on their age. It depends on what their health is like. Do they have issues like you may be having? That doesn't, it's not all the same. If you got medical issues, you need to get those addressed before you even do anything, because it's not going to help if you don't get those addressed. Now, once you have a strategy that helps solve these root cause problems, then you start eliminating some of these medications, you start bringing things back under control. Well, now you got something to work with. And that's why it needs to be an integrated process. So you need to get some comprehensive lab work done, get it interpreted, and then you need somebody to quarterback what you get done and make it easier for you. So, okay, what nutrition strategy is going to be better for you? What exercise strategy is going to be better for you based on your situation? And then how are you going to put all these things together? You got 4 pillars, so to speak, that you want to focus on to get to where you want to be. That's what I see being the most effective approach based on the people I'm working with and how I'm helping. I've got people that they're on blood pressure medicine, no longer on blood pressure medicine. The doctor put them on statins, and what they did is when they put you on statins, that's a long-term thing that the doctor is never going to take you off. Just ask them. So you have to be the advocate to say, you know what, I'm going to control this. I'm going to fix this root cause problem, what's causing it. And a lot of times, it's not a problem. So you need to get secondary advice on, is it really a problem or not a problem? Because these people are pretty anxious to write scripts for statins thinking they're going to do you some good, but you need to do the research on that or find somebody to talk to you about it, because people with low cholesterol are dying just as fast as people with high cholesterol. So is it really a cholesterol problem, or is it a nutritional problem? And when I say that is because when you look at a lot of some of the research that I've been reading, most of the issues are having to deal with insulin resistance, which makes an absolute amount of sense to me just by looking around, because insulin resistance is caused from having too many carbohydrates and processed food and sugar all day long, along with alcohol. You start combining all that and you get insulin resistance, that's going to lead to diabetes, but also damaging of the internal organs. So naturally you're going to get blood pressure issues and other problems because you're getting a lot of inflammation from what your lifestyle is. And the media tries to portray the lifestyle to be, well, we're having fun. Just have some chips and some Pepsi, Coca-Cola, whatever, and then make it diet-free. That'll solve it. That'll help fix it. And then keep eating all these processed carbohydrates and let's just make it a good old time. That's just not good. That's not good for you at all, because processed food is basically toxic to you. It has no nutritional value, and it's going to keep your insulin level up. High insulin is going to cause inflammation, and it's going to, it's toxic to the system as well. And then you're going to gain body fat. And every time you gain more and more body fat, you don't feel good about it, for one, and then it's causing all the other medical issues to start with. So insulin resistance is one thing you should really focus on. And one way to focus on insulin resistance is to check your triglycerides and your glucose and your A1C level versus what everybody else is doing. They're just checking, they look at the glucose. If it's within a range, they're like, okay, well, maybe you're okay. And if their triglycerides up, well, you need to get your triglycerides down. And statins aren't really helpful on triglycerides either. But people with high triglycerides, they're gonna be more susceptible to insulin resistance. It's just part of it. So you got to understand that. Okay. So also, when you're relying on the internet and social media, you have to filter a lot of information that's bad, because everybody's trying to sell gimmicky stuff. that they think is helpful, and you see all kinds of stuff. And you need to really scrutinize that. I mean, I see it and I scrutinize it, I look at it, and it's like, no, that's not it. That's not going to solve the problem. You know, people think you just do this one product or one pill, and that's going to get you where you want to be. And or they'll show the before and after picture, like that was the only thing that they needed. Temporarily, it could have worked. Don't get me wrong, but that's not a long-term solution. I mean, look at people that lose weight and then pack it right back on. Even on the TV show, The Biggest Loser, you know, they had all these people doing all this stuff, you know, which is unrealistic. You can't just eat and train all day long and have a healthy life. They act like, well, we'll teach them how to do it, and then they'll figure out how to incorporate it. Well, all of them gained all the weight back. So what good's that going to do? You need to make a lifestyle change. You need to do it in a manner that makes sense and progressed for you, so that you start feeling you feel the results, and you start seeing the results. Now you're more motivated. Now you're getting some wins in. Now you can see, oh, okay, where I can take this to. But the first thing is you got to get some lab work done, see where you're at, and then put a plan together to start get those internal organs and everything else working better. It's going to be nutrition, using some supplementation, getting proper sleep. You cannot ignore your sleep. It's just not going to help you. Doing some exercise, preferably weight training, because it helps stimulate hormones, helps keep your hormone levels more consistent, which is what you need. And then on top of that, put it all together in a plan that you can put in your schedule so it's very sustainable. You know, getting your food and having it ready so it's there for you when you need it. So you're not stressed out and want to grab something quick, which again, probably going to start you right down that rat hole of not getting where you want to be. So don't rely on the internet and social media. It's going to be a dead end for you. I can promise you that. And then the other one is most people do not have an integrated strategy. Now, I talked about this earlier, but it's really important. You need to put everything together so that you're covering all the bases. And that's why it needs to be integrated. So you need to have a strategy, you know, for the hormones, for the nutrition, and utilize supplements the right way and understand how they can benefit you. Have an exercise program that works for you and your schedule, and it can be adapted as you progress. And then make sure you're getting proper sleep. And on top of that, you're going to have to develop a winning mindset for all this so you can sustain it. But the beauty of it is, if you get yourself to work this process and do it, you're going to know what to do for the rest of your life. Now, how important would that be? You know how to control body fat. You know how to control keeping your muscle tissue up. You know how to control your energy levels. Is that worth something to you? I mean, I think it is, and the clients I work with, that's what they like. They take back control of all the things that were causing problems that they didn't realize, because they have an integrated strategy that addresses all these things. It takes a little time to get it all put in, but once it's working, now you got something worth living for. And if you're doing well, successful, and if you're successful and you're doing well financially, wouldn't you want to be really mobile and do all these things you want to do later on in life when you have extra money as well, and still keep going? You know, a lot of people in their 50s and 60s, unfortunately, they're on the struggle bus. They can't go do a lot of things because their health is not good. They're not very mobile. They're stiff. They wake up stiff. I don't wake up stiff. I'm 60. You know, so if you're waking up stiff, then that means your nutritional strategy is not really working for you, or there's something else going on. Typically, you got a lot of inflammation. And these things are all fixable, but you got to be willing to mentally make that change and realize, okay, when it's working, now you got a home run, but you have to put in the work and then break through. Don't procrastinate, break through and take that step and then make it happen. And then you're going to see a lot better results. All right, so this is a little bit more of a long-winded conversation, but at the same time, I feel very important about it. I feel it's really necessary that people start to see some of these key component things that they think are going to help them. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these things can benefit, but it's not going to solve the problem. That's what I'm trying to explain. You need to have a comprehensive strategy that integrates everything the way you need it for the long term. All right, so I hope you got some takeaways on this. Of course, you can comment in the group. Let me know your thoughts or other questions and concerns, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Take care.